First contact, first blood. The void between stars has never been silent, not truly. For those who know how to listen, it whispers with the hum of ancient energies, the echoes of dying stars, and the subtle signatures of civilizations that believe themselves hidden. The Nelvari Empire had been listening for millennia, cataloging, conquering, and consuming every species they encountered. Their fleet of obsidian warships moved through the galaxy like a plague of locusts, leaving broken worlds and subjugated peoples in their wake. For centuries, they had ignored the small blue-green world in an unremarkable spiral arm. Earth was noted in their archives as primitive, pre-FTL, minimal resources, defer conquest. But that changed when humans achieved their first tentative steps into faster-than-light travel. The ripples of their success spread through space-time, alerting the Nelvari to a potential new addition to their collection of servant species. Admiral Kazareth stood on the command deck of the Inevitable Dominance, his 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic projection of Earth's solar system. His scaled skin reflected the blue light in iridescent patterns as he gestured with elongated fingers. "Such a young species," he said, voice rasping through translator implants. "Barely a century of spaceflight, and already they reach beyond their cradle. Fascinating, but dangerous if left unchecked." His second, Commander Thilev, stepped forward. "Our scouts report their technology is still crude. They've managed to establish colonies on their neighboring planets, but their ships are slow, their weapons primitive. And yet," Gzirith mused, "they've achieved what took other species millennia. Their rate of advancement is concerning." The decision was made. The Nelvari would send a diplomatic envoy, a formality that always preceded conquest. 5 scout ships decoupled from the fleet and accelerated toward the Sol system, their engines leaving distortion trails that human sensors would detect days before their arrival. On Earth, the United Earth Defense Command went into high alert. Humanity had long suspected they weren't alone in the universe, but confirmation came with both excitement and trepidation. First contact protocols were initiated, and Earth's small but capable defense fleet was mobilized. Captain Maya Chen stood in the command center beneath Geneva, watching the approaching signals with calculated interest. At 35, she was the youngest captain in the UED fleet, known for her unconventional tactical thinking and her intimate understanding of the experimental ship now docked in Earth's orbit. 5 ships, approaching from the Cygnus direction, reported her tactical officer. "Configuration unknown, but their energy signatures are massive." Chen nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the display. "Time to arrival." 48 hours, Captain. "Then we have time to prepare a proper welcome." She turned to Admiral Reinhardt, who observed silently from the back of the room. "Sir, I request permission to command the Artemis for this encounter." Reinhardt's weathered face remained impassive, but concern flickered in his eyes. "The Artemis is still experimental, Captain. We haven't fully tested the integration systems. With respect, sir, if these visitors have hostile intentions, the Artemis might be our only advantage." Chen's voice remained level, professional, but her conviction was palpable. After a moment of consideration, Reinhardt nodded. "Permission granted, but you'll take a full crew complement, including Dr. Okafor and his team." Chen smiled slightly. "I was counting on it, sir." 48 hours later, the Artemis waited at the edge of the lunar orbit. Unlike the other ships in Earth's small fleet, which gleamed with polished titanium and bore the UED insignia proudly, the Artemis seemed almost unfinished. Its hull was a patchwork of different materials, with strange protrusions and recesses that defied conventional spacecraft design. But its unconventional appearance masked its true nature, a vessel built around the principles of neural-mechanical integration, the first of its kind. The Nelvari scout ships decelerated into Earth's solar system with calculated precision, their obsidian hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light, making them appear as moving voids against the starfield. Their formation was perfect, a pentagon pattern that Earth's tacticians immediately recognized as both defensive and potentially offensive. Communications opened on all frequencies, and the face of a Nelvari appeared on screens across Earth's command centers. 4 eyes, scaled skin stretched over an elongated skull, and a mouth filled with needle-like teeth. The species' appearance triggered primal fear responses in many humans, but Captain Chen remained impassive as she studied their biology, searching for insights into their psychology. People of Earth, the Nelvari spoke, its words translated through AI systems. I am Envoy Malik of the Nelvari Empire. We have observed your technological advancement with interest. The Nelvari offer you the opportunity to join our collective as a protectorate species. Your planet will remain yours, under our guidance. Your people will serve the greater good of the Empire. Chen's eyes narrowed. This wasn't a diplomatic greeting. It was a demand for submission. Admiral Reinhardt, speaking from Geneva, responded with measured diplomacy. We appreciate your contact, Envoy Malik. Humanity is always interested in peaceful relations with other species. However, we are an independent civilization and would prefer to discuss mutual cooperation rather than protectorate status. The Nelvari's face remained expressionless, but a subtle shift in its posture conveyed displeasure. Your independence is an illusion born of isolation. The galaxy functions through hierarchies, and the Nelvari sit at its apex. Your choice is simple: accept our generous offer, or face consequences. Chen activated a private channel to Geneva. Sir, this isn't diplomacy. They're following a conquest protocol. Reinhardt's face was grim. I agree, Captain, but we need to exhaust all diplomatic options before. His words were cut short as energy readings spiked from the Nelvari ships. Their formation shifted, spreading out to surround Earth's defensive perimeter. They're charging weapons, Chen reported calmly. Permission to engage defensive protocols. Granted, Reinhardt replied. But Captain, remember who we are. We defend, we don't escalate. Chen nodded, but her mind was already formulating tactical options. Artemis to all Earth vessels, maintain defensive formation delta. Do not fire unless fired upon. The Nelvari didn't wait long. Their message was clear. Your reluctance is noted and rejected. The Nelvari Empire hereby claims Earth and its colonies as imperial territory. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. The first plasma burst came without further warning, striking one of Earth's patrol ships and cutting through its shields like they weren't there. The vessel exploded in silence, debris scattering across the void. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered, her hands moving across the Artemis's unusual control interface. Not buttons or screens, but neural connection points that responded to both touch and thought. Return fire, defensive patterns only. Earth's vessels scattered, their conventional weapons seeming ineffective against Nelvari shields. 2 more human ships were hit, their hulls breached, crews desperately evacuating to escape pods. In Geneva, emergency protocols activated. Reinhardt's voice came through all channels. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. All civilian vessels return to Earth or nearest colonies. Defense forces engage according to Protocol Omega. Chen watched as the Nelvari ships moved with perfect coordination, their weapons systematically targeting Earth's defenses. They were efficient, practiced, a species that had conquered many times before. Dr. Okafor, she called to the scientist stationed behind her. It's time to see what Artemis can really do. The scientist, a tall Nigerian with intense eyes, nodded. The integration system is ready, Captain. But remember, once engaged, the ship will respond to your neural patterns. Every thought, every instinct. I understand the risks. Chen interrupted. Initiate sequence. Okafor entered a series of commands, and the ship's lighting shifted to a subtle blue. Chen felt the change immediately. A tingling sensation at the base of her skull where the neural interface connected. Then gradually her awareness expanded. She could feel the ship, not as a vessel she commanded, but as an extension of her own body. The Nelvari targeted the Artemis next, perhaps recognizing its unusual configuration as a potential threat. 3 plasma bursts streaked toward the ship. Chen didn't press buttons or give verbal commands. She simply thought, and the Artemis responded, moving with impossible agility for a vessel its size. The plasma bursts missed, and the Nelvari ships adjusted their aim, firing again. This time, Chen didn't evade. Instead, as the plasma approached, the Artemis's hull shifted, microscopic metamaterials rearranging their atomic structure. The plasma struck, but instead of damaging the ship, it was absorbed, channeled, and, to the shock of the Nelvari, redirected back at its source. One of the scout ships shuddered as its own weapon energy was returned, its shields failing under the unexpected feedback loop. In the command centers across Earth, in the remaining human vessels, and in the Nelvari ships, silence fell as everyone witnessed what should have been impossible. Chen allowed herself a small smile as she felt the Artemis humming around her, through her. "Open a channel to the Nelvari," she ordered, her voice steady despite the strain of maintaining the neural connection. The face of Envoy Malik appeared, its alien features twisted in what Chen interpreted as confusion, or perhaps the first flickers of fear. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth vessel Artemis. You have attacked without provocation and destroyed innocent lives. We offered peace. You chose war. Remember this moment, Envoy. This is when you learn that humans do not submit." Without waiting for a response, Chen severed the communication and focused her full attention on the ship. The Artemis moved with increasing speed and precision, evading further attacks while launching counterstrikes that seemed to bypass Nelvari defenses entirely. The remaining Nelvari ships attempted to regroup, but their coordinated tactics faltered in the face of the Artemis's unpredictable movements. It wasn't following any recognizable battle pattern. It was moving like a living thing, adapting in real time. 2 more Nelvari vessels sustained critical damage before the remaining 3 suddenly accelerated, breaking away from Earth's orbit and heading back toward deep space. They were retreating. In Geneva, cheers erupted across the command center. Admiral Reinhardt's voice came through Chen's comm. "Captain, I don't know what you just did, but you've bought us time. Well done." Chen felt the neural connection easing as Dr. Okafor began the disconnection sequence. The expanded awareness receded, leaving her feeling oddly confined within her own body again. "It won't be enough," she replied, massaging her temples as a headache loomed. "Those were scout ships. They'll report back, and next time, they'll come in force." Reinhardt's face was solemn on the view screen. "Then we'd better be ready. Return to Earth, Captain. We have work to do." As the Artemis turned back toward home, Chen looked out at the vastness of space, where the retreating Nelvari ships were now just fading points of light. They had declared war on humanity, expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they'd encountered something they couldn't understand. A species that had secretly prepared for this moment, developing technologies that even they, with their ancient empire, had never conceived. The first battle had been won, but Chen knew the war had just begun. And when the Nelvari returned, they would discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't the technology they'd witnessed today. It was the indomitable will that had created it. The reckoning. 93 days. That's how long Earth had to prepare. Captain Maya Chen stood in the observation dome of the lunar manufacturing facility, watching as workers swarmed over the hulls of 6 new ships, each built with the same neural integration technology as the Artemis. Construction had been running nonstop since the first encounter with the Nelvari, nations setting aside their differences in the face of an existential threat. "Will it be enough?" Admiral Reinhardt asked, standing beside her. In the low lunar gravity, his tall frame seemed even more imposing. Chen didn't take her eyes off the ships. "No," she answered truthfully, "but it will have to do." Early warning systems had detected the Nelvari fleet 2 weeks ago. Not 5 scout ships this time, but a battle group of 27 vessels, including what appeared to be a command carrier nearly 5 kilometers in length. Their trajectory and speed suggested they would reach Earth in just under 6 days. The neural integration still puts too much strain on the pilots. Chen continued. Dr. Okafor has improved the interface, but we haven't solved the cognitive fatigue issue. After 30 minutes, effectiveness drops by 60%. After an hour, she trailed off. Reinhardt nodded grimly. We've distributed the defense plan to all ship captains. The conventional fleet will engage first, keeping the Nelvari occupied while your neural ships remain in reserve. When the moment comes, you'll have one chance to implement Operation Synaptic Strike. Chen finally turned to face him. And if it fails? The Admiral's weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes revealed his concern. Then humanity will need to find another way to survive. The planetary shield can withstand bombardment for approximately 72 hours. That's how long we would have to evacuate as many people as possible to the bunkers on Mars and Europa. The grim calculus of potential extinction hung between them, unspoken but understood. Humanity, for all its remarkable progress, was still outnumbered and outgunned by a species that had been conquering worlds since Earth's humans were building their first cities. I should get back to training, Chen said finally. The neural sync exercises with the new captains are scheduled for 1400. Reinhardt placed a hand on her shoulder, an unusual gesture from the normally formal officer. Maya, what you did with the Artemis, it defied everything we thought was possible. If anyone can lead us through this, it's you. She nodded once, accepting both the compliment and the burden it carried, then headed toward the training chambers, where 5 other captains waited to connect their minds to machines that might save their world or witness its fall. 6 days later, Earth's combined fleet took up defensive positions in a spherical formation around the planet. 43 conventional warships formed the outer layer, while Chen's 6 neural integrated vessels, now designated the Olympus Squadron, remained close to Earth, hidden within the planet's sensor shadow. The Nelvari arrival was heralded not by subtle distortions this time, but by the dramatic emergence of 27 warships, dropping out of FTL in perfect formation. At their center, the massive command carrier loomed like an artificial eclipse, its hull adorned with what appeared to be trophies, fragments of conquered species vessels mounted as warnings. All communication channels sparked to life simultaneously as the Nelvari broadcast on every frequency, overriding encryption and security protocols with ease. The face that appeared wasn't Envoy Malik this time, but Admiral Xerath himself, his 4 eyes burning with cold purpose. People of Earth, his translated voice boomed across all channels. Your defiance has been noted in the Imperial records. Your resistance, while admirable, is ultimately futile. The Empire offers one final opportunity. Surrender now, and your species will be preserved as subjects. Continue this pointless struggle, and we will reduce your civilization to archaeological curiosity. In Geneva, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered to face humanity's darkest hour. President Adama of the African Union stood to deliver Earth's response, her voice steady despite the weight of 7 billion lives resting on her words. Admiral Xerath of the Nelvari Empire, we have received your terms and rejected them unanimously. Earth does not surrender to threats. Earth does not bow to tyranny, no matter how ancient or powerful. If you want our world, you will have to take it from us, and we promise the cost will be higher than you can imagine. A ripple of approval moved through the council chamber, representatives nodding in grim determination. They had known this was coming. They had prepared as best they could. Aboard the Artemis, positioned in low Earth orbit, Captain Chen closed her eyes briefly at President Adama's words. Then she opened a channel to the Olympus Squadron. You all heard the President. Earth stands its ground. We are the last line of defense, the surprise they don't see coming. Remember your training. Trust the neural link, but don't let it consume you. We move on my signal. 5 acknowledgements came back, the voices of captains who, like her, had volunteered to test the boundaries between human and machine. On the main view screen, The Nelvari fleet began to advance, their formation shifting into an attack pattern that tactical AI identified as the Spear of Subjugation, a formation they had reportedly used to break the defenses of 17 other worlds. Earth's conventional fleet moved to intercept, their weapons charging, shields at maximum. Admiral Reinhardt's voice came across the command channel. All vessels, engage according to Defensive Protocol Theta. Remember, we need to hold them for at least 20 minutes to allow Olympus Squadron to execute their approach. The space between Earth and the Moon erupted in a spectacular light show as the two fleets clashed. Human vessels, though less advanced, had been modified based on data from the first encounter. Their weapons were calibrated to specific frequencies that showed marginal effectiveness against Nelvari shields, and their tactics were deliberately chaotic, avoiding the patterns that the methodical Nelvari seemed to prefer. But the technological gap was still evident. Within the first 10 minutes, 7 Earth ships had been destroyed or disabled, while the Nelvari had lost only 2 scout vessels. The massive command carrier remained untouched at the center of their formation, directing the battle with ruthless efficiency. 14 minutes in, Admiral Reinhardt's flagship took a direct hit that overloaded its power core. The explosion temporarily created a gap in the Nelvari formation, the opportunity Chen had been waiting for. Olympus Squadron, neural integration at full capacity. Execute Operation Synaptic Strike now, she commanded, and felt the familiar expansion of consciousness as the Artemis became an extension of her nervous system. All 6 neural ships detached from Earth's orbit simultaneously, accelerating at speeds that would have killed unprotected human crews. But these vessels were different. The neural integration allowed the ships to generate localized gravitational fields that protected their captains from the extreme G-forces. The Nelvari detected the approaching ships too late. By the time their sensors registered the threat, the Olympus Squadron had already penetrated their defensive perimeter, targeting specific vulnerabilities with uncanny precision. Admiral Xerith watched from his command deck as the strange human vessels moved in ways that defied conventional space combat tactics. They didn't maintain formation. Each seemed to operate independently yet somehow in perfect coordination with the others. And most disturbing of all, they appeared to be anticipating Nelvari responses before they occurred. "What are these vessels?" he demanded, mandibles clicking in agitation. "How are they bypassing our predictive tactical systems?" His tactical officer's scales had paled with stress. "Unknown, Admiral. Their energy signatures fluctuate in patterns our systems cannot analyze. They appear to be adapting to our countermeasures in real time." On board the Artemis, Chen directed her consciousness through the ship's systems, feeling rather than seeing the battlefield around her. The neural link translated tactical data into intuitive awareness. Enemy ships became points of pressure. Their weapons charging felt like approaching heat. Their shield frequencies resonated as distinct tones. "Focus fire on the command carrier's propulsion systems," she communicated to her squadron. The thought transmitted instantly through their linked neural network. "We need to immobilize it before Xerith can retreat." The 6 neural ships converged on the massive Nelvari command vessel, evading point defense systems with movements too erratic for automated targeting to track. They fired in perfect synchronization, their weapons, enhanced by the same metamaterial technology that allowed them to absorb and redirect energy, striking precisely at the junction points where the carrier's shield generators connected to its power core. Inside the Artemis, Chen felt the strain of maintaining the neural connection growing. Dr. Okafor's warnings echoed in her mind. 30 minutes until cognitive fatigue, 60 until potential neural damage. They had to end this quickly. New contacts, came the alarmed thought from Captain Rivera of the neural ship Hermes. Reinforcements emerging from behind the lunar orbit. Chen directed her awareness outward and felt a chill despite the neural interface's emotional dampening. 15 more Nelvari vessels had appeared, moving to encircle the embattled human fleet. For a moment, despair threatened to break her concentration. They had committed everything to this attack. There was no reserve, No fallback plan beyond the desperate evacuation of Earth. Then, through the neural link, she felt something unexpected. A subtle fluctuation in the Nelvari command carrier's energy field. Their shields weren't failing, but they were resonating at a frequency that seemed oddly familiar. All Olympus vessels, she transmitted, the thought crystallizing even as she shared it. Synchronize your shield frequencies to match the harmonic pattern I'm detecting from the command carrier. Then invert and amplify. Her fellow captains acknowledged without question, their ships adjusting in perfect unison. As they did, Chen felt the resonance growing stronger, creating a feedback loop between the neural ships and the Nelvari vessel. Aboard the command carrier, systems began to fail in cascading sequence. Lights flickered, weapons powered down, and shield generators overloaded. Admiral Xerath watched in growing horror as his supposedly impregnable flagship became vulnerable. "What is happening?" he roared, striking his tactical officer with a clawed hand. "Explain this." "It's impossible," the officer stammered. "They've somehow created a harmonic resonance that's disrupting our power distribution network. It's as if they know the exact frequency of our shield modulation, knowledge only a Nelvari ship architect would possess." But it wasn't impossible. The neural integration that allowed Chen and her captains to merge with their ships also allowed them to perceive patterns and relationships that normal human consciousness couldn't process, including the subtle harmonic vulnerabilities in Nelvari shield technology. All Earth vessels, Chen broadcast on open channels as the command carrier began to list, its massive hull now defenseless. "Target the Nelvari reinforcements. Olympus Squadron will handle the command carrier." The remaining human fleet rallied, shifting their attack to the newcomers while the 6 neural ships surrounded the crippled Nelvari flagship. Chen opened a direct channel to Admiral Xerath, forcing her consciousness partly back into her human form to speak. The effort sent lances of pain through her skull, but she kept her voice steady. "Admiral Xerath, your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is facing destruction. Earth offers you what you did not offer us: the chance to retreat. Leave our solar system now, and carry word to your empire that humanity is not prey to be hunted. We are not a species to be subjugated. We are your equals, and if pressed, your reckoning." On the view screen, Xerath's alien features contorted in what might have been rage, disbelief, or perhaps a combination of both. For several tense moments, the battle hung in balance. Then, one by one, the Nelvari vessels began to disengage, pulling back into defensive formations around their crippled command carrier. "This is not the end," Xerath finally responded, each word seeming to cause him physical pain. "The Empire does not forget. The Empire does not forgive." "Neither do we," Chen replied simply, before cutting the transmission. She watched through the Artemis' sensors as the Nelvari fleet gathered their damaged flagship and retreated, jumping to FTL as soon as they cleared the moon's orbit. Earth's vessels maintained their positions, weapons still charged, until the last Nelvari signature disappeared from their scopes. Only then did Chen allow herself to disconnect from the neural interface. The sudden return to normal consciousness was disorienting, her body feeling strangely limited and slow. Around her, the Artemis bridge gradually came back into focus, not just as data points and energy patterns, but as physical consoles, screens, and the faces of her human crew. "Captain," her first officer said, concern evident in his voice, "are you all right? Your nose is bleeding." Chen touched her face, her fingers coming away red. The neural strain had been even worse than she'd realized. "I'm fine," she lied, blinking away the spots in her vision. "Status report." "We did it," he replied, breaking into a relieved smile. "The Nelvari have retreated from the solar system. All Olympus Squadron vessels report successful neural disconnection, though medical teams are standing by. Earth fleet reports 12 vessels lost, 17 damaged but operational." Chen nodded, the simple movement sending fresh pain through her skull. "And Earth itself? Untouched. The planetary shield wasn't even tested." He paused, then added with quiet amazement, "We won, Captain." But Chen knew better. As the Artemis turned back toward home, joining the remnants of humanity's fleet, she stared out at the stars where the Nelvari had disappeared. "No," she said softly. "We survived the first round. There's a difference." Earth had revealed its hand, shown capabilities that would now be analyzed, studied, and countered by an empire with resources spanning hundreds of worlds. The Nelvari would return, perhaps in months, perhaps in years, but they would come back with new tactics, new technologies designed specifically to defeat neural integration. And yet, for the first time since the Nelvari arrived, Chen felt something like hope. Humanity had faced extinction and refused to accept it. Instead, they had reached for the stars not just with their ships, but with their minds, blurring the boundaries between biology and technology in ways that even an ancient empire couldn't comprehend. As Earth appeared in the view screen, blue and green and achingly beautiful, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Nelvari had declared war, expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened a species that refused to be categorized, refused to be limited, refused to be anything less than the architects of their own destiny. "Let them come back," she thought. "Next time, we'll be ready." In the vastness of space, aboard their retreating vessels, the Nelvari were already beginning to understand what they had encountered, not just another species to be added to their collection, but perhaps the first true challenge their empire had faced in 1,000 years. A species that had done what the Nelvari had thought impossible. They had merged consciousness with machine, biology with technology, intuition with calculation. The humans had not just fought back. They had evolved.